Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Grabe ang pasabog ni Kaufman, ha. Palakpakan. Ay grabe, ha. Sobrang galing ni Kaufman po, mga kababayan. At talaga nga naman, alam mo, yung mga bumabati ko sa kanya siguro nagulat din dahil malupit po ang kanyang sinabi. At talaga namang kung makikita mo, talagang handang-handa. At dito mo makikita yung tikas ni Kaufman kasi sinagot niya ang lahat ng akusasyon ng prosecutor. Kanina nga po, mga kababayan, nagkaroon na po ng unang confirmation o hearing po dito sa issue ng di umano daw ay EJK daw ni Pangulong Duterte o yung tinatawag na Davao Death Squad. Ngayon ko lang napagtanto na kaya naman pala gusto nilang dalhin sa dahig kasi puro bobo mga nandun. Gago! Kasi alam nyo, mga kababayan, kanina sabi ko, nung pinakikinggan ko yung mga salita at lengguwahe ng mga nagpo-prosecute kay Pangulong Duterte, sabi ko, ano ba ito mga ito? Tanga ba ito mga ito? Abogado ba ito? Oh, talagang they are just appealing sa emotion. Gago! Kala ko nga kaganina, lalabas si Soto dun eh. Kasi ganyan si Soto eh. Political yung galawan ng mga prosecutor nila. Para bagang hindi mga abogado. Nakakaano lang, ano? Bakit ganun, ano? Abogado naman ito mga ito, pero tila parang mga, yung kanilang argumento, para lang talagang appealing to propaganda, appealing to emotion, hindi evidence-based. Kasi kung evidence ka, abay, may pinisinta ka na kaagad. Kaya lang yung mga sinasabi nila, mga argumento nila, ang binibitawan nila tungkol daw sa mga sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte. At yung mga sinabi naman ni Pangulong Duterte na binanggit nila ay putol-putol. Gago! Hindi para bagang ganito yung mga media, alam mo naman yung media nung panahon ni Duterte. At saka alam mo naman na media sa atin, puro mga bayaran niya mga yan, mga prostitute siya mga yan Dinaig pa niya ng mga pokpok Kasi ang mga pokpok hindi kumakain ng suka. Paano mo nalaman Banat Bay? Bakit? May nakita ka bang pokpok dyan sa karsada kumakain ng suka? Hindi, wala, di ba? Pero yung mga media natin, natapalan lang ng pera, kumakain na ng suka. Yung dati baganti na kanilang binabanata na si Marcos, abay ngayon kamping-kampi sila para lang durugin ng mga Duterte. Yan ang tawag na kain suka talaga. Usong-uso ngayon yan, hindi lang mga politiko, hindi lang si BBM ang kain suka, hindi lang sila Leni Robredo, Pati mga media, ganun din Kasi nga ngayon, ang ginamit nitong mga nag-aakusa kay Pangulong Duterte, yung mga putol-putol na ibinabalita ng media. Hindi yung kumpleto. At kaya nga tablado sila dito kay, walang iba kung hindi dito kay Kaufman. Nakakatawa lang kasi, para bagang, ewan ko, papakinggan natin at ipapaliwanag natin sa lengguwaheng maiintindihan natin kung ano ba yung sinasabi ni Kaufman. Kasi ito si Kaufman parang parang European ka ba? Obvious ba? Hindi kasi pag nagsalita siya, napakalalim ng kanyang Ingles. Actually, hindi naman ganun kalalim. Pero, ano po yun? Masyadong mabilis magsalita, slang ika nga siya magsalita. Kaya minsan mahirap din maintindihan. Totoo naman, mahirap naman talaga intindihin. Aside sa minsan, talagang tayo mga Pilipino, dumudugong ilong natin pag medyo malalim na Ingles. Aminado naman tayo dyan Hindi naman po tayo pretender. Hindi naman po tayo nagmamagaling. Hindi naman po tayo pero alam mo yung paggaganyan ng mga malalalim na Ingles, dapat talagang aralin natin yan. Na talaga namang alamin natin kung ano ba ang sinasabi ni Kaufman. At ayan po, inaral natin at ipapaliwanag ko sa inyo sa lingwaheng maiintindihan ninyo, sa lingwaheng mauunawaan ninyo, para naman makita ninyo yung kanyang argumento. Kasi yung kanyang argumento actually, para bagang hindi prepared speech. Para bagang talagang sinagot niya punto by punto yung akusasyon nitong kabilang panig, 'di ba? At sabi ko nung nakita ko itong maman, matalino ito, magaling ito. Kasi kung ibang mga nagmamagaling yan, yung magaling mag-Ingles, magaling sa jargon ng law, mga lawyer, iibahin niya. Pero sa kanya, punto by punto, ang linaw. Yung accent lang niya hindi malinaw. Hindi, totoo naman. Yung accent niya talagang accent European eh. Di ba? Syempre, wala naman tayo magagawa. Ganun talaga siya. Doon siya pinanganak eh. Kaya, i-explain ho natin. Okay? Pakinggan po natin. Maganda ho ito at nakakuha natin itong video na ito kay ating senador. Maksum si Eric Mata. Si Dr. Eric Mata ang isa sa sayang sana kung naging senador ito. Matikas din ito eh. Lalo na pagdating mo sa ewan ko nga, hindi ko nga maintindihan eh. Dapat talaga merong doktor, merong health profession na maging senador para mas mauunawaan yung mga batas na kailangan ipasa na concerning the health of the Filipino people. Kasi alam nyo, sa Pilipinas hindi tayo ganun ka-concern. Ang problema, hindi na nga maganda yung health system natin. Wala pa tayong mga batas na nagtutulak na maging healthy ang mga Pilipino. Napaka-importante ho kasi niyan. Kaya napakaganda sana kung nanalo at hindi dinaya ng, ewan ko kung sino ba nandaya. Oh, by the way, highway ito lagi natin sinasabi ito. Isang bagay lang magpapatalo kay BP Sara Duterte. Pag tumakbo si Comelec Chairman George Garcia. Gago! Siya lang ang kayang tumalo kay BP Sara Duterte. Wala nang iba. Gago! Kaya talaga bantayan natin ng Comelec. Ako nga talaga, hingin natin na mag-resign na yan eh. Hindi kasi totoo to, walang biro Yun lang talaga, may ano kasi yun, lugi ka dun eh. Bakit? Kahit talo ka, pwede ka ipanalo. Pwede kang gawing congressman, kahit talo ka. Tingnan mo sila Abante. Sino pa? Yung party list ng mga komunista. Di ba? Dinisqualify yung Duterte youth na nag-number 1. Para lang makapasok yung komunista. Kaya talagang si Comelec Chairman lang, George Garcia, ang tatalo kay BP Sara Duterte. Gago! Pakinggan na natin.
And I thank Mr. Tuyan for his intervention. But I feel that I ought to remind him that this is a court of law
Yon.
which decides matters on the basis of evidence,
Yon.
not on the basis of political demagoguery,
Yon.
and not on the basis of a desire to effect regime change despite the democratic will.
Yan muna unang punto. Ebidensya, hindi politika. Sabi nga ni Kaufman, di ba? Korte ito, ebidensya ang basihan, hindi drama o propaganda. Which is, yan kasi yung kanilang yung talagang, alam mo yun, parang tama talaga siya. Yun yung una ko na-observe. Bakit yung, yung prosecutor, para bagang ang kanilang diskarte, based on feelings, not based on evidence. Di ba? Pansinin ninyo, ako sigurado, hindi lang ako nakapansin, maraming matatalino dyan. Di ba? Hindi ho, hindi ho tungkol sa ebidensya ang pinresinta. Kung hindi puro drama, propaganda, di ba? Para, alam mo yun, para kang sabi ko nga, ano ba ito? Facebook ba ito? Labanan ba ito ng post? Labanan pa ito ng social media? Kasi ganun na nangyayari. At alam mo, hindi, sabi ko nga di ba, bakit meron isang nagsabi doon na prosecutor na parang sinabi daw ni Duterte na DDS siya. Siya daw ang DDS, yung Davao Death Squad. Yun na yun. Yun na ebidensya nila. pag-amin daw ni Duterte na Davao Death Squad, siya daw yun. At pag-amin pa din daw doon sa Senado na kung saan sinabi niya na ako yan at walang pulis dyan, puro gangster yan. Yun na daw ang ebidensya. Gago! Sabi ko nga, hindi naman niya inaming pumatay siya. Hindi naman niya inamin, ako ang pumatay dito kay ganito. Ako ang pumatay. Kaya nga paulit-ulit niya sinasabi, di ba, crime is personal eh. Hindi pa pwedeng pangkalahatan. Hindi ko pa pwedeng sabihin na ako'y akusahan ninyo at sabihin kong, ako ay mamamatay tao sa mga kriminal. Ako mamamatay tao sa mga durugista. Hindi nyo ko pwede ikulong doon. Alam mo yun, dali mo ako sa korte. Judge, si Banat Bay daw, mamamatay tao yan, no? Ng mga kriminal. Di ba? Hindi pwedeng ganun. Ang una kagad tatanong, sino pinatay niya? Paano niya pinatay? May ebidensya ka ba na siya talaga ang kumitil ng buhay nito? Ganun ang korte. Hindi pa pwedeng, wala lang, sinabi lang niya, trip lang niya. Kaya nga, alam mo, sabi ko nga, si Pangulong Duterte talaga kasi hyperbole nga, sabi nga ni Atty. Panelo. Kaya lang kasi kaya niya sinabi yun. Kasi tinatanong ko sa sarili ko, ba't kaya niya sinabi yun? Kasi nga, abogado si Pangulong Duterte. At dating prosecutor si Pangulong Duterte. So you cannot accuse a person of killing the criminals per se. Hindi pa pwede yun. Kailangan may pangalan, saan ginawa yung krimen, ano ginamit na ano. Kailangan mong patunayan yan. By saying na ako ang pumatay sa lahat ng kriminal, hindi ibig sabihin makukulong ka nun. Kailangan patunayan ng kusino man, gobyerno man, policeman, o kamag-anak ng mga namatayan. Hindi pa pwede, tingnan nyo na, inamin. Inamin niya, DDS siya. Hindi pa pwedeng gayon yun. Ano ngayon kung inamin niya DDS? May inamin ba siya na pinatay ko si Juan de la Cruz? Si Juan de la Cruz, ang ginawa ko dito, ganito, ganito, ganito. Ginawa ko yan sa ganitong araw, ginawa ko yan at ginamitan ko yan ng kutsilyo. Dapat ganun. Hindi eh. Pinagtitripan kayo ni Pangulong Duterte na DDS siya, ganyan-ganyan. Tapos walang kasamang pulis, puro gangster lang. Pinangalanan nyo ba yung gangster? Hindi. Anong ebidensya nyo? Yung sinabi niya. Kaya nga, alam mo, hindi ako abogado, pero hindi man ako tanga. Kasi marami ako nakakausap na abogado, talang lalo na yung tatay ko. Diba? Personal yan, hindi pwedeng yan, pang general statement. Pinatay ko si ganit, pinatay ko ang mga tarantado. Yun. Sino yung tarantado? O kaya, pumatay ako ng bayot. Sino yung bayot na yun? O pumatay ako ng bobo. Ako yun. Ay, hindi. Hindi kayo yun. Kung bobo kayo. Hindi pa pwedeng gayon. Ituloy natin.
And certainly not on the basis of statements made by Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remula, who professed that domestic justice will be denied, according to Mr. Butuyan, because of the lack of forensic reports and police reports. Now, I don't know which case Mr. Butuyan's metaphorical ship sailed into, but he clearly hasn't read the evidence. Whilst he was speaking, we examined the evidence, and out of that evidence we found at least 35 reports substantiating 49 of the incidents which are mentioned in the document containing the charges. Your Honours, Rodrigo Duterte was...
May doon sa 49 na incident, may 35 na reports na sumusuporta doon sa 49 incidents. Pero puro kwento lang. 'Di ba? Hindi yung wala hong talagang Kaya nga yung sinasabi niya dito, yung lalaking Pilipino na ewan ko kung bansa ba siya nag-aral yun. Hindi kaya sa ano yun? Ay, wag mo naman ganyan banat bay. Muntikan ko na mabanggit yung eskwelahan ni Auntie Claire. Baka paraw sila ng pinag-aralan ni Auntie Claire. Kasi hindi pwede talaga eh.
and will always remain a unique phenomenon. His style of statesmanship was novel and unpalatable to many. His expletives and hyperbole grated, while his honesty and wild popularity irritated. He spoke openly, from the heart, sincerely and truthfully. And what a contrast between him and his successor in the Malacanang. For President Rudy, his word was his word, and the people knew it. For President Bongbong,
Yako,
his word is for the wind.
nako po, patay. Ayan na. Bumanat na si Kaufman. Ano daw si Bongbong? Yung kanyang salita, hangin.
The people will not forget it. Let me remind everyone of the
Yes.
letter which President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
Yan.
signed, it's on the screen, and in which he gave a cast iron undertaking that his government, and I quote, will not assist the ICC in any way, shape, or form. Well, as we know, he failed to keep that promise.
So dito, importante rin ito, yung bang sabihin ng presidente na he will not cooperate with the ICC. Napaka-importante niyan. So, bakit nandiyan si Pangulong Duterte? If Marcos, the president of the Philippines, said that na hindi siya makiki-coordinate with the ICC.
Rodrigo Duterte was unconstitutionally hijacked and unceremoniously hauled off to The Hague.
Yan, importante. Yan yung punto. Ang galing talaga nito ni Kaufman, kaya yung mga bumabanat dito kay Kaufman, putang ina nyo. Putang ina nyo talaga. Tama eh. Perfect eh. Perfect yung sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte. Perfect yung sinabi ni VP Sara Duterte. Perfect yung sinasabi ngayon nitong abogado na ito. Na sinasabi niya, talagang kinidnap. Kasi yung Pangulo ng Pilipinas sinabing hindi tutulong. Kung hindi tutulong, it means ito ay walang kagagawa ng gobyerno. O anong ginawa? Ba't dinala dyan? O ibig sabihin, unlawful yung pagkadala. Diba? Ang linaw niyan eh.
And when called upon to defend his master's actions and the said letter at a Senate committee hearing, the then Secretary for Justice,
Yeah.
once again Mr. Jesus Crispin Remula, persisted with the same dishonest theme. And I quote his words, "We did not assist the ICC. We continue with the very tenor of the letter that we did not assist the ICC and we did not have any contact with them." So he said, but with a document emanating from the prosecution team opposite and disclosed to us a mere week ago, not as information material to the preparation of our defence, but as exonerating evidence, we can now substantiate what we have suspected for a long time.
Yan.
The document comprises a transcript of a telephone call
Yan, naku po, patay tayo. Ito, malupit. May telephone call ng transcript. Ito yung pasabog. Diba? May binanggit na secret recording. Okay? Na inilagay sa transcript. Ano yon? Sige, Kaufman, banatan mo.
covertly recorded between four parties
Covertly. Ano ibig sabihin ng covertly? Sa mga magaling mag-English dyan, paliwanag yun na. Di ba? Covertly recorded, itinago yung pag-record. Secret recording.
who cannot be mentioned in public, and one of these parties was boasting about how
So, apat daw sila, ha? Merong isang sinulat na nila yung transcript ng usapan At nagyayabang daw ito. Ano yung pinagyayabang? Pinapagyabang na meron siyang parte. Oh.
He was acting as the silent partner of President BBM,
Nako,
managing a scheme
Nako.
to funnel witnesses to this
Nako.
court, while all the time ensuring that he could guarantee President BBM's plausible deniability.
so yun ha, transcript ng isang phone call na covertly o tinagong patagong recording. May 4 na tao sa usapan, hindi pinangalanan yan. Isa sa kanila ay nagyayabang na siya daw ang silent partner sa umano'y scheme para magdala ng witnesses sa ICC habang pinoprotektahan si Marcos. Oh, nako po, patay tayo dyan.
So it is indeed the defense case that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. set out to neutralize
Yon.
Rodrigo Duterte
Ayaw.
and his legacy. Yes, Mr. Deputy Prosecutor, I used
Doon daw yon, may planong in-neutralize si Pangulong Duterte. Ano ibig sabihin ng neutralize? Dito, inamin, doon sa transcript na yon, baka sabihin ng iba, bakit di sinabi kung ano yun? Kasi nga, bilin yun nung judge dito na wag kayo muna magpapangalan dito ng mga tao. Sinabi dyan witness man o resource person man, wag muna yung papangalanan. Pero pagka ganyan kasi, sinasagmit yan. Okay? Pero kasi alam nilang may media, so publicly wag mo munang babanggitin dyan. Okay? Sa ano daw yung pinag-usapan? Okay? Ang pinag-usapan daw nila nung 4 na tao na yon ay in-neutralize si Duterte. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Para pahinain si Pangulong Duterte at ang kanyang legasiya. At ang gagawin ay ito. So, sa madaling salita, it is not really para panagutin si Pangulong Duterte. The reason kaya talaga dinala si Pangulong Duterte is political, para in-neutralize si Duterte. Naintindihan natin? Ibig sabihin, siraan politically. Ganon ang gawin. Oh, tuloy.
that legendary word, neutralize, so central and so essential to your case theory, because you know just as well as me that I'm using the term metaphorically. And now I turn to the substance of the charges, but before I do, a word or two about the geopolitical context.
Yun yung halimbawa na parang sinasabi niya, hindi, kasi pag sinabi mo kasi neutralize, ang ibig sabihin nun, patayin Okay? Literal. Pero yung not literal, yung siraan yung tao. Yung kanyang legasiya, siraan yung pangalan para mawala sa laro ng politika. Yun ang dahilan ng ibig sabihin ng neutralize. So para bagang sinasabi niya dito, yun din ang sinasabi ni Pangulong Duterte. Pag siya nagsalita, hindi ibig sabihin literal. Ang ibig lang sabihin, kung sinasabi niyang in-neutralize o patayin ng mga kriminal, may lalim. Hindi lang, basta nakakita ang kriminal, pang, patay. Hindi ganun. Merong talaga, merong mas malalim pang, ano ba yung context nung patayin? Yun yung sinasabi dito. Na mismong si Marcos din, ginagamit din daw yan through the document na meron siyang document ng transcript ng usapan nila nung 4 na tao. Yung silent partner daw ni Bongbong Marcos.
The scourge of illegal narcotics is not unique to the Philippines. As we all know, it afflicts Latin America, where I can name 3 countries where the death rate at the hands of vigilantes and law enforcement agents per capita population is higher than it ever was under Duterte. And as you should know, and you will hear from the prosecution, at any rate, the Philippines as a country is uniquely positioned to act as a transit hub for the trafficking of narcotics emanating from the cartels in China. And with or without Duterte, so we argue, the death rate would have kept on rising. Indeed, as we will prove with statistics and reports, the death rate flowing from narcotics-related crime actually increased after Rodrigo Duterte left power. And where, I ask you, has the International Criminal Court been since? Now,
Grabe yun, ano? Ha? Ulitin natin para maintindihan natin.
without Duterte, so we argue, the death rate would have kept on rising. Indeed, as we will prove with statistics and reports,
Ayan, we will prove, papatunayan daw na talagang tumaas after ni Pangulong Duterte.
the death rate flowing from narcotics-related crime actually increased after Rodrigo Duterte.
Oh, yung death rate. Kasi para bagang sinasabi niya dito, sinabi niyo maraming namatay sa war on drugs. Actually, sabi pa niya dito we will prove to you through records, statistics, na mas marami pang namatay after ni Pangulong Duterte. Di ba?
Left power. And where, I ask you, has the International Criminal Court been since? Now,
Asan daw ba itong ICC? Ano ba? Kasi mas marami nga namatay dito sa panahon daw ni Marcos. Asan daw ba kayo?
a colleague of the victim's representatives sitting opposite, a certain self-styled legal assistant to ICC counsel, rose up and famously stated in one of her many voluble interviews to the media
Ito yung si Epal, yung malaking bunganga.
that Rodrigo Duterte conducted not a war on drugs, but a war on the poor. A war on the poor, I ask you? If
Sabi niya, meron isang Epal na putang ina. Ay, walang ganun. Yung malaking bunganga na nagmamagaling kesyo daw nag-a-assist ng mga witness na sinabing ang laban daw ni Duterte do sa war on drugs is not really on the drugs but on the poor. Yeah? Yun ang pinalalabas. Propaganda.
anything, the totally lawful Duterte campaign against illegal drugs and their suppliers took place when his administration was actively promoting some of the most important redistributive policies in years,
Yan.
all with the aim of alleviating poverty. Legislative reform in 2017 to reduce personal income taxes for workers,
Ayan. So ito, sinasabi niya na parang paano naging war on poor yun? Panahon nga ni Pangulong Duterte, ni-reduce yung tax. Kasi dito, para bagang ang accusation kasi, parang mamamatay si Duterte, talagang inano niya yung war on drugs, DDS, blah, blah, blah. So, ang laban daw ng war on drugs is not really on drugs, but on the poor people. Ito nga sinasabi niya through the policy of ni Pangulong Duterte, ang dami niyang polisiya that fights poverty. Diba? So paano mo masasabing anti-poor yung war on drugs?
social protection expansion known as the 4Ps, designed to provide regular cash transfers to needy and multi-child families, universal health care, and need I say more, the Magna Carta of the poor.
Yan pa daw. Universal healthcare, di ba? Panahon ni Pangulong Duterte. Pinasayan. Ginawa niyang priority bills yan. Tapos yung Magna Carta for the poor. Ibig sabihin, talagang maraming polisiya si Pangulong Duterte para sa mga may hirap. So isang malaking katarantaduhan yung sinasabi ni Bunganga, ayoko nang banggitin ng mukha nun. Bakit ba puro pag-opposition sobrang papangit talaga, no? Pangit na nga ng kalooban, pangit pa ng mukha. Sinasabi, paano naging anti-poor itong war on drugs? Napakaraming ang ginawang magagandang polisiya at ayan, binanggit ni Kaufman isa-isa.
Setting out the right to adequate food, decent shelter, education and a highest standard of health. The fact that the majority of those who died as a result of drug-related crime were living in the most deprived areas is something which is endemic to every afflicted society.
Yung pagkamatay daw ng mga tao, it's not because of Duterte. Pero lahat po daw ng society, yan ang dinadali ng sabu. Di ba? Totoo naman eh. Sa ibang bansa, ganyan din eh. Hindi naman sa Pilipinas lang namamatay ang mga mahihirap. Bakit? Kasi nga, alam naman natin, ang sabu. Hindi, totoo naman eh. Yung droga na yan ay talagang papatayan ng tao. At saka yan ang ginagamit kasi nga mura. Lason pero lason talaga. Di ba? Ibig sabihin, marami mang namamatay, hindi iyan dahil sa utos ni Pangulong Duterte. Dahil yan sa talagang epekto ng droga sa society. At sinasabi nga niya dito, hindi lang naman sa Pilipinas yan. Sa lahat ng bansa, basta pinasok ng yang ganyan droga, patay sigurado mga tao.
But can anyone seriously accuse this man, Rodrigo Duterte, who has lived such an openly frugal existence, of taking up arms against the needy? This is the man who at the age of 5 arrived in Davao to live in a modest shack where rain leaked through the roof, forcing him to crawl under the kitchen table to take shelter. This is not the man born with a silver spoon in his mouth and groomed for the presidency from childhood. This is the man who was born to a lawyer and a governor who taught him discipline, values, and respect for the people by being one of the people. This is the man who,
Grabe, no? Ganyan ang birada.
as president himself, shunned the luxuries and the privileges of high office, and like others before him, and even those after him, he slept not in the palatial grandeur of the Malacanang, but in Spartan quarters of his bodyguard's hut.
Grabe, no? Grabe. Galing ni Kaufman. Palakpakan natin. Kakainis. Kasi nakausap ko na to eh. Oo, nakausap ko to dong isa sa mga interview doon sa Dahig. Diba, in-interview natin. Tahimik. Ato to eh. Matipid ito eh. Hindi ito yung tangang abogadong bida-bida. Alam mo yung mga... Ewan ko, wala akong masabi. Baka may mapangalan pa ako. Hindi ito yung abogadong napakarami sinasabi na bida-bida. Hindi ito. Tahimik ito. Maingat to magsalita pag sa labas. Pero dito talagang sinabi niya. Ito yung Pangulo na talagang, alam mo yun, anak ng gobernor, lawyer, pero nagsimula at talagang nabuhay doon sa payak na pamumuhay. Yan ang sinasabi niya. O tapos ang hirit pa nga niya dito para bagang nung siya ay naging Pangulo na, hindi po ito natulog doon sa Malacanang, sa palasyo. Di katulad. O, di ba? Binanggit niya pa, sakit nun. Shit. Hindi katulad ng mga dating Pangulo at kasulukuyang Pangulo. Ito daw ay naando lang doon sa shelter lang kung saan yung mga bodyguard niya. And I witness to that. Nakita ko po yun. Yung tirahan niya, hindi ko lang ikinikwento dito kasi hindi naman po tayo bida-bida. Hindi natin talaga, alam mo marami tayong alam tungkol dyan. Yung kanyang payak na pamumuhay. Pero hindi ko kasi tayo makwento kasi ayoko ho talaga nung ganun. Yung nagmamagaling na porket naging close ka lang sa presidente o naging close ka lang sa certain politician, ikikwento mo na lahat. Pero since kinuwento naman niya, ikikwento ko na lang din. Ayaw ni Pangulo doon sa Malacanang talaga. May multo doon. Hindi kasi siya sanay doon sa palasyo ang datingan, yung malaki. Umaalis siya doon. Doon lang siya sa quarter ng mga bodyguard. Natutulog. Kasi siyempre gusto niya mga kasama niya. May kasama siya. Tapos maliit lang yung kanyang kwarto. Ayaw niya ng marangya. Nung naging nga siya, sipin mo, 6 na taong ka naging presidente. Yung sinakyan mo bago ka maging presidente, nung natapos ka maging presidente, yun pa rin nasa sakyan mo. At witness po ako dun. Nakita ko po yun. Kaya ako buwisit doon sa nagsasabing kurap. Putang ina nyo. Kung kurap yan, naka Mercedes-Benz na yan. Naka BMW na yan. Hindi eh. Kung ano yung ginamit niya during the campaign na gusto ko nga siyang bigyan ng sasakyan. Kasi, eto pwede ko naman na sigurong sabihin ito dahil sinabi naman na niya. Yung sasakyan niyang pick-up, Yung nasa harapan lang siya nakaupo. Ako nininervous eh. Kasi hindi bulletproof. Tapos, talagang nandun lang siya sa harap. Yun yung during the campaign. Nung after niya na maging presidente, nung kami nagkita-kita na doon sa isang karaoke, nagkantahan kami, yung pa rin ang gamit niya. Sabi ko, gusto mo, Mr. President, sa'yo na lang yung yung Alphard ko. Alphard. Gago! Gusto mo, Mr. President, sa'yo na lang yung Maserati ko? Gago! Hindi totoo naman eh. Hindi totoo yung mga kotse ko. Wala akong ganun. Pero ganun talaga siya kahirap nung bumaba siyang presidente.
Diet consisted not of prime cuts of imported Australian beef,
Oy! Bakit Australian beef? Mas masarap ang Wagyu beef. At mas mahal yun. Porkit nasa Europa kayo ha. Gusto nyo western ng
but of
Hindi daw siya kumakain ng steak. Ay, isa pa yan. Isa pa yan. Hindi ito, walang biro ito ha. Si Pangulong Duterte, pagka nagpupunta tayo noon sa Malacanang para kikwentuhan, yung pagkain nila. Hindi naman sa panlalait, pero hindi ko kinakain. Kasi yung pagkain nila, pagkain na hindi pwedeng kainin ng walang kanin. Ano yun? Mga tuyo, di ba? Munggo. Favorite ko yun. Kumakain ako noon. Kaya lang, since hindi na ako kumakain ng kanin dahil sa aking diabetes, wala na. Ang kinakain ko na talaga, nagkakain na ako ng steak, wagyu, kasi yun ang dapat protein lang meat para wag ka mag-carbs. Kaya lang yung mga pagkain pupunta ako doon, kumakain muna ako bago ko pumunta doon. Kasi alam ko na naman ihahanda nila yung mga pagkain na kailangan ma-enjoy mo lang pag may kanin. Yung danggit.
dried fish and boiled rice. A man of simple indulgences, his pleasures were to be found not on the cocktail party circuit of Forbes Park, but on coastal roads where he roamed and cruised on his motorcycle, not looking for people to kill, Mr. Prosecutor.
O yun, napuntahan pa natin yung favorite niyang kainan. Ay, grabe ho. Karinderya. At di ba, napakita ko ba? Hindi ko pa pala napopost yun. Shit. Yung mga picture niya, prosecutor pa lang siya. Actually, hindi pa nga siya. Oo, tama. Prosecutor pa lang siya. Doon sa karinderya na yun, may picture siya. Nung presidente na siya, may picture pa rin siya doon sa karinderya na yun. Doon pa rin siya kumakain. Hindi puro stick-stick.
But almost killing himself because of his love for speed. This is the man who paid and paved his way through law school, passing his bar exam in 1972, more or less on the same day as Marcos Sr.'s tanks were grinding and rolling their way through the streets after the declaration of martial law. And it was on that significant day that Rodrigo Duterte was exposed to the tyranny of oppression and the abuse of power by the elite. And he took a decision. On that day, he chose to devote himself to a life of selfless public service. As a professor at the local police academy and as a public prosecutor in Davao, Rodrigo Duterte developed a lifelong passion, some would say an enduring obsession, for law and order, something for which he unapologetically enforced throughout his time as mayor of Davao City.
Yawn.
Not as the prosecution say, through sowing murder and mayhem,
Yawn.
but through winning the love, respect and admiration of his fellow citizens. The very same citizens.
Ang ganda nung sabi niyang yun. Hindi doon sa pinapalabas itong prosecutor na masamang tao siya. Hindi. Si Pangulong Duterte naging propesor pagdating sa law. At talaga namang nag-aral ng law at talagang yung kanyang passion na implement ang law and order sa Davao City ay nangyari. Kasi remember yung kanilang akusasyon, panahon pa na din ng mayor si Pangulong Duterte. So sinasabi niya dito, if President Duterte is a lawless person implementing lawless policy, di ba? Sana magulo yung lugar nila, sana ganito, chaos yung hindi eh. Sinasabi niya dito that PRRD respect the law. Respect niya sobra ang batas ng Pilipinas. Yun ang sinasabi dito.
Who continued to re-elect him time after time,
Yon.
term after term,
Yon.
on no less than 7 occasions over more than 2 decades. And throughout his 20 or so years tenure as the mayor of Davao, Rodrigo Duterte and his family transformed that city from an outpost of communist insurgency and criminal violence into what is now one of the safest cities, not just in the Philippines, but in the entire world.
Yan. Kita nyo, ang galing. Dito kasi, tandaan niyo bakit binabanggit ito. Kasi dito pa lang, inaakusahan na siya, si Pangulong Duterte, na nung mayor siya, may Davao Death Squad. Dito sinasabi niya, ito yung mayor na minahal. Sa sobrang minahal, nagtagal ng decades na naninilbihan. Panalo lagi. Ibig sabihin, kung talagang totoo na mamamatay tao siya, anti-poor siya ay talagang hindi sumusunod sa batas, hindi siya ma-elect ng paulit-ulit. Ang ganda nun eh. Kasi tandaan ninyo, doon sinimulan yan eh. Sinimulan yung issue na siya ay mamamatay tao nung palang siya ay mayor. Kung mayor pa lang pala siya, mamamatay tao na siya, anti-poor na siya, gumagawa na siya ng illegal, o mamamatay tao na siya ng mga inosente, di sana hindi na siya binoto ng paulit-ulit. Naging presidente pa nga. Napaka-imposible para sa isang mayor na nanggaling sa Davao. Paano nangyari yun? Kasi nga, mahal siya ng taong bayan. Bakit siya mahal ng taong bayan? Kasi pinapatupad niya ang batas. Hindi siya anti-poor. Yun eh. Anak kayo ng Nagalit niyo ako eh.
This was indeed the so-called Davao model, which the prosecution wants to
Pasensya na sa caption na hindi po ako naglagay niyang caption na yan ha. Malamang auto-caption niya kaya dinownload ko lang itong video na to.
persuade you was code for unbridled criminal violence. And this was the type of leader that the Filipino nation wanted in 2016.
Iyon.
So, Rodrigo Duterte
Ang ganda niya, pinapaliwanag dito sa mga ulol na to eh. Sinasabi niya na kung yan talaga notorious na presidente, na tao, hindi na iboboto yan noong 2016.
was elected into power not in spite of, but specifically because of his firm and uncompromising commitment to upholding law and order. And after his election as president, Rodrigo Duterte remained a man of the people without seeking to patronize the people. Gung-ho in his ways and with a belligerent tone, he spoke the tough tongue of the street, not the dissembling discourse of international diplomacy. He said what the people wanted to hear, but he said it in a way that offended sensibilities of world leaders unaccustomed to hearing it, one in particular, and that was what set him on the slippery slope to a prison cell in The Hague. And let me tell you how it works. It starts with the media, controlled by the powerful and the politically influential.
Ayan na. Yari na kayo. Tanginan yung media, kayo animal. Pero yan lang ang pinikap ng media. Ito malinaw. Totoo naman. It starts with the media. Who is owned by the oligarchs na nilabanan ni Pangulong Duterte. That's why puro misquote, kung hindi ma-misquote, chap-chap o kaya angling ang ginawa nila sa mga statement. Kasi nga, pinagbayad ng tax ni Pangulong Duterte itong mga hindot na to. Mga oligarch na may-ari ng mga media.
With a sensational headline and a twisted editorial slant, the moguls sell their papers while promoting the partisan agenda of their backers in power.
Yo.
They highlight the salacious content while ignoring the true context, because that is what captivates the reader. And so it was with Rodrigo Duterte, whose speeches were fertile fodder for his enemies and detractors. A man whose hyperbole, bluster and rhetoric, once published, became a natural target for privately funded NGOs and human rights activists, a loose collective more commonly known as civil society. These people descended upon the Philippines to advance an agenda even more lacking in objectivity than that of the media, and heavily funded by tycoons with even grander designs, they print their glossy reports, replete with iconic photographic images of grieving families and dead bodies in rain-swept, nighttime crime scenes, all dramatically illuminated with the fluorescent glow of neon. Images carefully crafted to shock the conscience and to sway the emotions, and, I may say, to be used by the prosecutor when they don't even relate to the charges. And they gave their slick reports bold titles lifted straight out of a James Bond movie, such as License to Kill, One Shot to the Head, You Can Die Anytime, or
Grabe, insulto po. Ayun, insulto. Wala naman daw kaalam-alam yung prosecutor sa totoong context na nangyayari sa Pilipinas. Tapos gumamit pa ng mga title ng pelikula para lang describe si Pangulong Duterte. Galing mo. Kaya pala mahal mo.
just kill. The photographers are fated and their shots exhibited as art all over the world, and the brave journalists who act as their sources win awards and Nobel Prizes. And slowly but surely their narrative becomes the sacred, unchallengeable and unshakable truth. And so the pressure builds up, and the academics who haunt the corridors of the progressive left law faculties far away in the United States tweet their research and publish their articles pontificating about crimes against humanity, systematic attacks against the civilian population, and they point their finger at one man alone, and bandy about slogans such as accountability and the prevention of impunity. They give their gratuitous advice on what should be done, sometimes academics who formerly worked alongside the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. Communications and complaints are filed, and the rest, as they say, is history. In any event, we're not gathered here today to judge a man on the basis of his coarse attitude or his vulgar language. This court has convened a confirmation hearing to verify whether substantial grounds exist to believe that Rodrigo Duterte, the people's president, together with various so-called co-perpetrators, over the years of his governance, devised a criminal policy of wholesale and wanton murder. And since we are in a court of law, it is worth stressing, although I should not have to, cases are decided on the basis of evidence,
Yon.
not supposition,
Yon.
not rumour,
Yon.
not spicy gossip,
Yon.
and certainly not on the basis of political rhetoric and bluster. Because at the end of the day, were it not for those belligerent and controversial speeches, there would have been no impetus to bring the people's president to The Hague. And when the prosecution's evidence is examined, I would ask you to keep an open mind and to question not just whether that evidence has been selectively presented, but whether there exists evidence which the prosecution has failed to produce. And I say this with justifiable cause, particularly with respect to the Duterte rhetoric, as we will prove during the substantive part of our submissions, the notorious speeches on which the prosecution relies have been cherry-picked to suit its narrative, while ignoring the many other speeches when the former president tempered his bombastic language by clear reference to the principle of lawful self-defense.
Ayan, no? Napakaganda nitong binanggit niya to. Na para bagang kinukuha lang yung portion ng speech niya, tapos mini-misquote. 'Di ba? Tapos sinasabi niya nga, mas marami pa nga ang sinasabi niya about self-defense. And following the law, ito pa, sasabihin niya,
We, the defence, have read as many of these speeches as we can find. In fact, in our poky little office on the top floor of the furthest building away in this complex, we have a counter which ticks and ticks. And whenever we come across a speech which contradicts the prosecution's murder theory by reference to self-defence, we give a cheer. And the counter goes up once more,
Yeah.
and we celebrate one more nail in the coffin of the prosecution's case theory.
Grabe. Ay, nako. Ang lalim nun. Talagang sinasabi niya habang naririnig niya yung prosecutor daw na binabanggit yung mga sablay at kulang-kulang na statement. No? Parang pinapako daw yung kabaong. Kasi patay yung yung kanilang argumento
As the statistics stand as of today, in contrast to the 20 speeches on which the prosecution relies to prove incitement to kill, we have found 35 more which say the complete opposite.
Yun.
Let me give you two examples.
Sabihin, doon sa sinasabing mga statement daw ni Pangulong Duterte na puprove na siya daw ay involved sa DDS, EJK, blah, blah, blah. Mas marami pa nga daw ang sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte at bibigyan pa na niya example. Mas marami naman daw sinasabi ni Pangulong Duterte na you follow the law, everything, susuportahan kita. But if you do not follow the law, yari ka. Mas marami pa. Plus 35 pa daw. Naku po, patay tayo dyan. Sabit na naman itong tatangat. Ewan ko, mahina talaga utak nito mga prosecutor.
From the very speeches that the deputy prosecutor himself cited today.
Ayan, eto mismo yung sinabi daw ng prosecutor. Tingnan ninyo, alam mo, gusto ko, galing nito mamang to. Kasi siya alam mo yon, hindi siya nag-stick doon sa kanyang speech habang pinakikinggan yung prosecutor. Sablay. Ito yung mga sinabi nyo na sablay. Ito yung kulang.
Let's refer first of all to the famous Pietà speech, which the deputy prosecutor referred.
The Pietà speech. Yung nakahiga. Nagmukha kayong tanga kay Kaufman.
So, this is what the deputy prosecutor said. Those of you who are still sober, those who haven't tried illegal drugs, if you don't want to die or get hurt, don't rely on the priests, including human rights advocates. They won't be able to prevent deaths, and so it goes on. But if we look further...
Ayan, yun daw yung sinabi. Yung mga hindi pa daw addict, Huwag daw kayo mag-relay sa mga pare, mga human rights. Pero ito yung part na hindi binasa.
on in the very same speech, something which maybe the deputy prosecutor didn't do. This is what he had to say. To our police officers and other officials, do your job, and you will have the unwavering support of the office of the president. I will be with you all the way. Abuse your authority, and there will be hell to pay. For you will have become worse than criminality itself. Well, there you are. You have it straight in your face. Pexo.
Galing mo, ayop ka. Bago. Ang galing mo, Kaufman. Pahiya sila, mga animal. Hindi, di ba? Sabi nga kinuha niyo yung speech na to, yung part na sinasabi niyang kayong hindi mga addict pa, mga sober pa, Huwag na kayong umasa sa mga human rights, blah, 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 blah. Yun lang yun lang yung kinuha. Ang problema with the same araw, yung mismong speech na yun, yung ending part, ang ganda. O kayo mga pulis, mga opisyal, basta sumunod kayo sa batas, nasa likod nyo ang Office of the President. Pero pag kayo hindi sumunod sa batas, impyerno abutin nyo. Yari kayo. So, doon pa lang, tablado na Sabi nga ni Kaufman dito pa lang, tablado na kayo Di ba? Hindi nyo binanggit yung buong statement o buong speech ni Pangulong Duterte. Talagang inano nyo lang, chinap-chap nyo. Hiling yung chumap-chap. Bakit ba kayo? Anong kinagay ng chap-chap sa bayot? Kasi mga chap-chap, mahilig mag-ano. Chap-chap.
Exonerating evidence within what is claimed to be the prosecution incriminating evidence. I won't take up my time by showing you the second speech, but there is one. If I have time at the end, I will show it to you. So if you add to that another 10 speeches out of the 20 speeches on which the prosecution rely in its document containing the charges.
20 daw yung speeches ni Pangulong Duterte that incriminate him. Pero sabi niya dito, meron pa more than that. Marami pang sinabi si Pangulong Duterte more than the 20 na sinasabi ninyo. Marami pang siyang sinabi na napakalinaw na sundin ninyo ang batas.
After all, we are in a court of law and we rely on evidence. And what is the evidence that's produced of these speeches? 20 of them. 10 of them, I submit, and we will show this in the substantive part of our submissions, contain exonerating evidence which support the defence case theory. In other words, if you add the 10, which we've identified in the prosecution's 20, to our total of 35, we come to 45 speeches versus 10, which we say support
45 speeches.
The use of force only in self-defense.
Gamitin ang puwersa sa self-defense laang. 45.
That is 350% more speeches in favor of our defense.
300, kung gusto nyo ng speech, eto 300, more than 300% ang mas marami ang sinabi si Pangulong Duterte na in self-defense. Di ba? Yun.
And 354% more reasons not to confirm the charges. And you can bet your bottom dollar that at the end of today's proceedings, either the victim's self-styled legal assistant to ICC counsel or a prosecution intern will be tasked with scouring the web looking for the means to prove Kaufman wrong. And I will declare it, and I'll declare it loudly and clearly, as if the prosecution didn't know it already. It's not enough to state that since the former president made those extremely inflammatory statements and deaths occurred, that he must, as a matter of course, be criminally responsible for those fatalities. At this stage of the proceedings, the prosecution needs to show substantial grounds to believe that the former president actually desired and foresaw that people would be killed as a result of his incendiary language. For the prosecution to assert that Rodrigo Duterte hoped for deaths to occur or was recklessly indifferent as to whether deaths would occur, which he was not, that's insufficient. So once more for the record, Rodrigo Duterte's language was aimed not at suspected drug pushers as the prosecution would have it, but directly at those poisoning society with their substances, and not, I stress, with lethal intent. His rhetoric was calculated to arouse fear and obedience, to instill fear in their hearts, and to inculcate a respect for the law in their minds. Nothing more, nothing less. That was his intent, and it was not criminal. And as many of these drug pushers demanded to enter prison, I remember seeing the images on the television, lining up to surrender and to enter prison. Now, I challenge my colleagues opposite to prove otherwise, because as we all know, in a criminal process, the burden of proof is on the prosecution.
Yari kayo.
They brought this case, and they need to prove it. Rodrigo Duterte need not convince the world of anything, and that is to his fortunate advantage given his current medical condition. And he stands behind his legacy resolutely, and he maintains his innocence absolutely. Now, I turn to the general fairness and objectivity of the investigation, which, as we all know, is meant to be an impartial evidence-gathering exercise. As an ex-prosecutor myself, I'm used to investigating agencies, pursuing all reasonable lines of inquiry, assimilating all testimonies, and digesting all documentation and forensic evidence, recommending who to target for prosecution, but not so with this prosecution. When we, the defence, study the course of the investigation in this case, one thing is plain as a pikestaff. The chief prosecutor of this court, Mr. Karim Khan, not only failed miserably to carry out his duties under the Rome Statute,
Ayan, yan.
requiring him to examine exonerating circumstances as well as incriminating, but he single-handedly contaminated it, so we alleged, by pursuing a one-track crusade with a view to a predetermined objective.
Yun.
Let me explain.
Sige nga. Ito daw si Khan. Basta mga Khan, bastos eh.
Although the ICC officially authorized an investigation into the so-called Philippines situation in late 2021, it was deferred a few months later back to the Philippines for the official investigation to resume only in late 2023. But the real meat of the investigation into Count 1, relating to the activities of that fictitious construct, the Davao Death Squad, had effectively started way before then, with the sole objective of nailing Rodrigo Duterte. Indeed, all the way back in 2018, during its so-called preliminary examination, the prosecution had an individual who will be referred to as P1, handed to them on a silver platter. This P1 had been interviewed at an earlier date by none other than Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, in his former capacity as a private lawyer, and the self-professed item of pulp fiction entitled Duterte Harry. Your Honours, the picture on the front cover of that book says it all. It really does scream objectivity, doesn't it? I say that sarcastically, of course.
Of course.
Fortunately for us, the defence, the appeals chamber, has now disqualified Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan from this case. A welcome development as a matter of ethical propriety, but in our opinion, too late in the day to salvage the integrity of the investigation that he had supervised. An investigation in the course of which he concealed his former role as the victim's counsel, who had deemed our client a suspected murderer as far back as 2018 and right up to the very day before this pre-trial chamber issued its arrest warrant. Your Honours, over the next few days, we hope to convince you of the wholly insufficient nature of the evidence against Rodrigo Duterte. We will show you that the paltry number of speeches on which the prosecution rely do not manifest criminal intent. We will also convince you that as hard as they tried, the prosecution's investigators couldn't get even one of its criminal cooperating witnesses, whose reliability is next to zero, to admit that they heard the former president, Rodrigo Duterte, give an order to kill at any time relevant to the charges, or with respect to any of the incidents. And we hope that when you conclude your deliberations, Your Honours, that you will dismiss these grievously misplaced and politically motivated charges. We will ask you to send Rodrigo Duterte back to his family, and we will ask you to give back to the Filipino people their tatay digong. Thank you, Your Honours.
Punto by punto talaga, oh. Kaya ang ganda na sinabi ni ano dito eh. Ito sinabi ni pangalan nito ni Panelo, punto by punto talaga eh. Oh.
Let's bring One News anchor Angela Lagunsad Castro, who's been in the Netherlands since this weekend. Angela, can you give us a run-through of what happened so far?
Hi, Seth and Sean. I'm here right now at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, Netherlands, wherein the confirmation of charges of former President Rodrigo Duterte is happening right now. Day one, actually, nagkaroon po ng, of course, yung House rules muna, nagsimula ang hearing, and then reading of charges, and of course, opening statement from the prosecution, from the counsel of the victims, and of course, happening right now, yung opening statement statement from the defense. But right now, before we proceed, kasama ko ngayon, Ces and Sean, si Attorney Sal Panelo, ang miyembro ng Filipino Legal Council,
Yan,
ni
yan,
former
yan.
President Rodrigo Duterte, para bigyan tayo ng kaunting pahayag doon sa nangyari kanina. Attorney, ito po. Good morning po sa inyo. Actually, good afternoon na dito pala sa The Hague. So, what is your reaction doon po sa naging opening statement, most specifically ng counsel for the victims?
Yung pong mga sinabi nung abogado ng mga biktima, pati na yung prosecutor, yun ay parang paulit-ulit na propagandang matagal na nilang naratibo yun. Na
Yan.
batay sa haka-haka,
Yan.
batay sa hearsay na tinatawag, batay sa mga aligasyon na wala namang ebidensya.
Yan.
Well, Attorney Butuyan reiterated there in his statement how powerful the Dutertes are, stating na ang Vice President ay mismong anak ng Pangulo, na may intensyon na tumakbo sa pagiging Pangulo. Mga anak niya ay nasa politika din, na kapag hindi na confirm ang charges ay delikado ang buhay ng mga biktima ng war on drugs. Your thoughts on that?
Unang-una, irrelevant naman yung kandidatura ni Inday Sara Duterte. Wala namang kinalaman yan dito sa kaso ito. Pangalawa, sinasabi niyang makapangyarihan, powerful pa. Sa lahat naman ng makapangyarihan, nakakulong siya ngayon.
Okay. Alright. Doon po sa naging kaunting pahayag na naabutan natin kay attorney lawyer Nicholas Kaufman, in-reiterate po niya doon na kakaibang ang karakter ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte.
Totoo po yan in the sense na kasi si Presidente Duterte mahilig sa hyperbole yung tinatawag.
Yeah.
Nag-exaggerate siya.
Mm.
At ginagamit naman ng mga kalaban niya yan. Pero palagi nilang tinatakasan yung kabuuan ng kanyang mga payag.
Yeah.
Kaya nung ko pa sinasabi, and natuwa naman ako, kinote niya kanina yung sinabi ni Presidente Duterte, na itong prosecution, parang pinapakita lang nila na itong mga sinasabi ni Presidente Duterte i-enforce yung batas na ang kinahinatan nga yung maraming napatay, mga pulis. Pero kinakalimutan nila, kasi sinasabi nila, siya mismo sabi, patayin nyo. Ano nga sinasabi ni Presidente Duterte. Pero kinakalimutan nila, doon sa SONA, yun ang kanyang policy statement from the very beginning. Sabi niya, I will support you with all the resources of the office of the president. But if you abuse your authority, there
Yan.
will be hell to pay.
Yan.
Yun ang basis niya eh. Patayin nyo kung ang buhay nyo ay nanganganib. At yun naman ang nangyari.
Okay. So far, okay sa inyo yung...
Panelo,
Yes.
a question.
Yes, go ahead, Chen.
Good
Yes.
Good evening to you, Attorney Panelo from Manila. A powerful presentation there by Joel Butuyan, who is counsel for the victims. He said
Anong powerful doon? Bias na bias.
that truth is the antidote to the virus of impunity. Itong impunity ay kumakalat, anya, at nagkakaroon ng mga mini Dutertes at Duterte clones.
Tanginan yan. Mas maraming clone si Marcos. Oo! Di ba alam naman natin yung kanilang pamilya magnanakaw? Ayan ay nahusgahan na ng korte. O, sino clone ng kanyang pamilya? O, siya. Si BBM. Hindi man masasabing diretsyong magnanakaw, pero pinabayaan niya ang mga magnanakaw sa gobyerno. Siya ang maraming clones. Clown tuloy. Pareho na rin. Pareho rin sila. Clown din sila eh. Sila ang pinakamarami. Ang dami nila ha. Hindi lang naman si BBM. Lahat ng mga congressman. Clone. Pare-pareho mga magnanakaw ang mga animal.
Kaya ang solusyon daw dito, ayon sa kanya, ay ihayag bigyang pagkakataon ang mga biktima na ihayag ang kanilang narrative.
Yung sinasabi niyang virus of impunity, I think he's referring to the virus of lies
Yun!
that they and he, people like him, have propagated all these years
Ayan!
against the former president.
Tama.
Silang kailangan bakunahan lang katotohanan at hindi yung kapila.
At ayon din sa prosecution ay may mga insiders sila na maglalahad kung ano ang ginawa doon po sa kapulisan. Mismong mga parte ng DDS halimbawa. Ano po ang kasagutan nyo doon?
Eh, yun naman pong mga sinasabi nila, matagal na nating narinig yun.
Yan.
At puro naman yun, batay sa wala silang personal na knowledge.
Ayun.
O kung hindi naman, yun ay gawa-gawa lamang ng mga binayarang testigo o mga testigong may sama ng loob kay Presidente Duterte.
Attorney Panelo, hello, si Sean Puto, magandang gabi. Narinig ko rin yung pahayag naman ni Attorney Kaufman, yung defense counsel ni dating Presidente Duterte. Ang sinasabi niya parang basically laying down the context just like what you're saying. Tayo kasi dito, sanay tayo sa rhetoric ni dating Presidente Duterte, pero yung mga tao dyan, hindi. Ang tanong, do you think explaining the context of the Duterte rhetoric will actually have an effect on the court?
Ayun ang hindi natin malalaman kasi hindi naman natin nababasa ang isipin ng mga hukuman.
Antayin natin.
Pero alam po niyo, gusto ko i-list ng konti. Para sa akin kasi ngayon, yung hearing na ito, irrelevant ito eh. Dapat ang concentration ay jurisdiction. Kasi parang pinapangunahan mo na, wala ka pa nga jurisdiction, di mo pa nare-resolve. Bakit nagbibista ka na? Yun ang gusto kong sana marinig sa defense. Question this court why it has assumed jurisdiction and it has set hearings when it has not finally resolved the issue of jurisdiction, specifically the doctrine of principle of complementarity. Lahat ng member ng Estado, ng ICC, ay hindi sila pwedeng pumasok. Yan ang sinasabi ng batas nila. Pakakapasok lang sila kung walang kakayahan ang bansang miyembro.
Yan.
Sobrang kakayahan na po natin pinakita. Pinakulong natin ng libu-libong mga kriminal. 2 presidente ang pinakulong natin. 2 senador ang pinakulong natin. Isang presidente, sinipa natin. Dahil mga nagkabit ng krimen laban sa sambayan ng Pilipino. Bakit sila nakikialam? Isang kaso na kinamit ng isang Pilipino, laban sa Pilipino at ginawa sa Pilipinas, pero dayuhan ang lumilitis, dayuhan ang pakulong sa kanya ngayon.
Yun.
Of course,
Attorney
with the
Panelo,
cooperation of this administration.
hindi po ba nag-rule na dyan ang ICC?
No, I disagree. What you're referring to is the jurisdiction raised by the defense that since we have already withdrawn, you have no more jurisdiction, which was opposed by the prosecution by saying, no, you have residual obligation because we investigated prior to your withdrawal. Mali po yun. Yung parting yun, secondary defense lang yun. Ang dapat mo munang i-resolve, meron bang kakayahan ang bansang Pilipinas kung
Yan.
ito'y miyembro pa? O wala. Hindi nila nare-resolve yan. Pumunta kagad sila doon sa umatras kami. Walang jurisdiction. Pero yung sinasabi nila, nag-imbestiga daw sila prior to the withdrawal. Mali po yun. Kasi ang iniimbestigahan po nila noon, hindi yung preliminary investigation as contemplated by the Rome Statute. Ang iniimbestigahan nila, kung may kakayahan ba ang bansang Pilipinas na mag-usig ng mga kriminal. Dahil kung wala, papasok kami. Hindi nga ho nila na-resolve yun from the very beginning.
It was also brought up by the prosecution that our own Justice Secretary and Ombudsman said that it is impossible to try the case here in the Philippines.
Hindi po totoo yun. Dahil gaya na sinabi ko, kung totoo yung sinasabi nila, bakit tayo nakapakulong ng libo-libong mga kriminal? Bakit tayo nakapakulong ng 2 presidente? Bakit tayo hindi nakapakulong ng 2 senador? Ang problema po sa kanila, sinasabi nila na si Duterte hindi mausig ng panahon na siya presidente. Tama sila kasi may immunity. Pero 3 taon na pong bumaba. Wala silang ginagawa. Hindi sila nag-prosecute. Nung tinanong ang Department of Justice, bakit hindi nyo dinimanda? 3 taon na kayo. Ang sagot po nila, ay wala silang ebidensya. So kung
Patay.
walang ebidensya, bakit mo isinuko sa bansang dayo para litisin ang isang Pilipino?
Dahil po ang
If I may
ebidensya ay nabura na.
Yun. I was gonna say that. If I may add to what Seth said, ang sinasabi nila, walang police report, walang DNA, walang evidence.
Hindi totoo yun. Hindi totoo. Alam niyo po, yung nagsasalitang yan, siya isa sa mga kasabwat ng pagpapakulong at pag-aresto kay Presidente Duterte. Kaya ganyan ang kanilang naratiba. Pinagtatanggol nila ang kanilang mga sarili.
Panghuli na lamang po, Attorney Panelo, hindi po kayo mabibigyan ng pagkakataon na tumayo sa harap ng korte, kundi bilang observers lamang. Ano po ba ang magiging role ng Filipino legal counsels ng dating Pangulo?
Sa ngayon kami nag-o-observe lang kasi create yung legal team ngayon lang.
Got a new video.
So wala pang, para kami makapasok dyan, kailangan maging miyembro kami ng defense. At
Yung tono ng media, no? Mga halatang halata di ba?
pagpa-credit. At pag pumayag, makakarap kami.
Ano naman ang masasabi nyo sa opening statement ni Attorney Kaufman? Kayo ba ay panig sa kanyang mga argumento? O
Gaya
kulang
na
ba?
sinabi ko po,
O
kaya
kulang?
sa sinabi ko sa mga naunang nagtanong sa akin, yung pong nilatag ng prosecution, pati nung abogado ng biktima, ay isa-isang sinagot ni Attorney Kaufman. Walang punto na hindi niya sinagot at tama naman lahat ng kasagot.
Ayaw!
So you're happy naman?
Pinasinungaling.
Palakpakan natin si attorney, Ay, yung mga ganyan ng yan ang mga gusto nating komento. Kasi yung ibang mga komento, ewan ko kung ayoko na lang magsalita. Pero meron pang kumukontra dito kay Kaufman Di ba? Ay, nako. Ewan ko. Buti pa ito, hindi insecure.
Madali sabi, pinasinungalingan niya lahat ng aligasyon laban kay Presidente Duterte.
So in your assessment, the opening statement of Attorney Kaufman went well?
Of course.
Definitely.
Sinagot niya na punto by punto, di it went well.
And have you guys, the five of you, the lawyers, na malalapit po kayo sa dating president?
Six of us.
Six of you guys. You're all also close friends of the former president. Are you also there to provide Attorney Kaufman and the defense team with some context or any additional information? May ganun po bang plano na mag-meet?
Una-una, kami yung nandito dahil kaibigan nga kami, namin bigyan ng moral support. Assist create ng legal team the day before we came here. Kasi on our own talagang pupunta kami rito para bigyan bilang mga kaibigan. And the family decided na magkaroon ng isang legal team. So ang gagawin namin, after observing kung anong narinig namin, mag-meeting ko kami mamaya or after the 5-day or 4-day hearings. And then, pag-usap na kami sa defense ni Presidente Duterte para mabigay namin sa kanila yung aming mga insights.
Yan. So mga kababayan, mukhang mukhang may pag-asa at may balik si Pangulong Duterte, Kasi yung nakikita ko, kasi remember yung burden of proof. Ano ibig sabihin ng burden of proof? Sinong dapat magpatunay? Dapat ba si Kaufman patunayan niya na inosente si Pangulong Duterte? Hindi. Ang dapat magpatunay ay yung mga nag-aakusa na talagang involved si Pangulo sa malawakang patayan daw, di umano, sa Pilipinas. Inisa-isa nga ni Kaufman at sinabi niya nga dyan, kung may matinding namatay dahil sa war on drugs, bakit ngayon lang? Alam mo yon, ibig sabihin, bakit kay Pangulong Duterte lang? Ngayon nga daw, mas marami pang namamatay sa droga at may statistics siya dyan. May ebidensya siya na mas maraming namamatay ngayon kaysa nung panahon ni Pangulong Duterte. So, pwede mo bang sabihin na dahil marami lang namatay, meron ng kinalaman ng presidente? Hindi po pwedeng maging basihan yon o ebidensya na kagad yon. You have to be specific. Sino pinatay? Sino? At meron bang direktang sinabi si Pangulong Duterte, itong kriminal na mga to, patayin nyo yan ng patayin. Malinaw nga sa sinabi ni Kaufman na more than doon sa mga binanggit ninyo na patsi-patsi ang kinuha ninyo. Chap-chap, ika nga. Napakarami pang mga sinabi si Pangulong Duterte na sinasabi niyang dapat gawin nyo na naaayon sa batas. Self-defense. At the same time, pag ginawa ninyo na naaayon sa batas, nasa likod yung Office of the President. Pero pag ginawa ninyo, inabuso ninyo, labag sa batas, impyerno abutin nyo sa akin. Ito nakadirekta mismo sa mga opisyal at mga pulis. So doon pa lang sa statement na yon, enough proof na para po mapawalang sala si Pangulong Duterte o mapasinungalingan yung mga akusasyon sa kanya. Kaya mapapauwi na si Pangulong Duterte. Sa tingin ko lang, ha. Sa tingin ko, base sa mga ebidensya na pinakita o sinabi ni Kaufman. Abangan natin, tingnan natin, di ba? Tingnan natin. Mukhang hopeful ako eh. Based doon sa mga statement ni Kaufman, mukhang mapapauwi si Pangulong Duterte. Yon. Maraming salamat po mga kababayan. Sana po napanood nyo na maigi at naintindihan natin. Although may mga parte talaga na medyo mahirap unawain, pero napakaganda po ng paliwanag ni Kaufman. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po kayo mga kababayan. Ako po si Banat Bay sa uuliting upload.